Good evening, everyone. Welcome to LFC Transfer Room. I'm here tonight, joined by Carter and Reese to discuss the latest developments around Liverpool Football Club. Now, we see each other yesterday as well on the match reaction stream after a pretty disappointing evening in Birmingham for Liverpool. 3-1, a 3-0 draw, actually. It was 3-1 up until the 80th minute, in which we've seen once again that maybe defensively reason why we're not in the title race anymore. And even though we've missed quite a lot of chances in the matches that we've point in, it's been shaky defensively as well. So yesterday was another opportunity to see that. But until we get into that, make sure to like and subscribe if you're new here, and obviously to the people on Twitter, make sure to come to YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and get involved into the conversation as well. But until we get into all the topics that we have prepared for this evening, I'm gonna ask Carter, how are you doing tonight?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Obviously, a bit disappointed with the result yesterday, but not much you can do. Just looking forward to the last game now, and yeah, just sort of ready for it all to be finished at this point.
Fair enough. Yeah, I've been in the same boat for quite a few, for like the last few weeks now. Reese, how about you, mate?
Same as Carl. I was disappointed about yesterday, but I kind of checked out for the season since we're not challenged for the league. I've kind of checked out. The only reason I've been watching games is because I've been hoping some of the youngsters would play because they're meaningless games. But obviously, Klopp's still playing the players that let him down. So yeah.
I think the Palace game was the one where I kind of knew that that's that was over after that one. But that's not the topic of tonight's stream. So I'm gonna give you guys yesterday's game because we haven't obviously discussed it. It was like, I said it yesterday as well. It feels like I didn't want to get angry, mainly because we didn't really have a lot to play for, and then also I really didn't care that much about the result. But being 3-1 up and then seeing the way we've conceded twice in like 5 minutes, it's been one of those days again where it just kind of gets you upset with the ease with which we concede. And it's been happening quite a lot this season as well. So we're gonna see how the new head coach is gonna deal with it next season. So Carter, it's been pretty much like the whole season. It's been a good performance from our front three, but then defensively again, fragile.
I mean, even then, when you say like good performance, it's good performance up until we put the ball in the box. Like Diaz missed time in the run, Nunes missed time in the run at the end. Like we've scored a lot of goals, so I do think less blame needs to be put on the attack, but also they haven't been as clinical as you'd maybe hope. But then I think last night I saw the subs go on at the end, and I don't know maybe if you lot agree with me, but I was like, I can't believe he put Jones on the wing. Like it just seems like he's just given up Klopp at a bit at this point. Like I just don't see why he'd put Jones on the wing, Szoboszlai in the midfield. Because I was there. I was like, I know exactly what's going to happen. It's just going to be McAllister stood between the two centre halves with no one near him. He's going to get the ball and he's just going to get pressed. And I felt a bit sorry for him. I felt like at the end he was a bit sloppy, but I feel like that was more like what can he do? Like if you're playing and you've got no options to go to, you're going to get tackled. So I think that was a bit annoying. I think the defense. I think normally I prefer Gomez at left back. I don't know if he maybe checked out. It just seemed like people were just a bit switched off. Like some of the balls would go and everyone was a bit like and ahhing to go back. So it did just feel like, and we haven't had one of these games for a long time, because even when we're bad, we're like struggling to get into the top four. It's still tight to the end. This just honestly, it felt like everyone was on the beach. Like everyone was getting ready to go on holiday. Like people was getting ready, saving themselves for the Euros. Like it was just a bit at the end. Yeah, it was just the whole season. That game just sums up. Look really good in parts. Have some good individual play, but then we just let ourselves down.
Yeah, it's been a topic last evening as well. It's as we don't really have a lot to play for, people were, rightfully thinking that maybe some of the players have checked out already. But it's odd when you think about it, because these players have the opportunity to play for this club, and to have the opportunity to put on that shirt and go on and play in the Premier League is something that really shouldn't be taken for granted. Now, I'm honestly hoping that's the case, and that's why the performances were the way they were these last few weeks, especially away from Anfield. But yeah, it's going to be a lot of work for Arne Slot next season, defensively especially, but we're going to get into that later. So, Reese, your thoughts on the game?
I just think the game management's poor. It's kind of been like that most of the season. Obviously, the difference was before, even though we were conceding, we were still getting the results. So everyone was happy. But I always kind of thought you can't really maintain playing like that for the whole season when you're making games more difficult than they need to be. Obviously, the subs, again, I think the timing of the subs, or the amount of subs as well. It's like, why take Endo off and then put McAllister in the 6? We don't need to play McAllister in the 6 anymore. And I'm sure Besetic was on the bench. So if you're going to put someone in the 6, why don't you just bring a like for like? Like what Carter said, as soon as them subs kind of happen, you knew it's going to be McAllister on his own. Obviously, unfortunately, he slips. I'm not going to blame him, because the 6 is not his natural position. And a lot of the players just look like they've checked out. That's why, for me, I wanted to see the young players. And because some of the senior players have let Klopp down when it mattered, I don't know why he's still playing them. For me, I'd play the younger players, because the younger players are hungry. Even though there's nothing to play for, they're going to see it as I got opportunity here to try and put myself in contention for next season. They're not cemented. They're hungry. They're not. So a lot of our players, because they're comfortable as well, because they know they're still going to get picked, and certain people are favorites and stuff like that. There's a lot to unpack there defensively. Some of the tactics, it's been like that all season. We look too easy to open up, but I think a lot of that is because we ain't got a world-class DM, so it kind of leaves the defense exposed. Too much pressure on Alisson as well. I think towards the end of the game, you could see he looked quite irritated from the result, which tells me, like I said, I hope, obviously I still expect him to be here as well, but you never know. Some players could be fed up to the point where they're like, I could be somewhere else, like kind of getting more than what I'm supposed to be getting. But yeah,
it's really been the theme pretty much the whole season. I think in January we were discussing if we can keep up getting points the way that we have, because obviously it was sorry, it was quite a few matches where we won late on and with questionable defensive performances. So I said it in the winter. I was talking to a mate, and I said that it's either we keep up like this, and we have this luck for the whole season and we're champions, or we finish in third. And unfortunately, it was the latter. So yeah, quite a lot to discuss. And yes, Reese, the DM topic will come into play a bit later. We're going to discuss that, because we know that Slot likes to sometimes play with a double pivot, and that's going to be interesting to see, because at the moment I don't think we can rely on Endo and McAllister, but we're going to get into that later. Now, I've seen this comment as well from Haler. I think, honestly, the disappointment, at least for me, the disappointment is not coming from the fact that we've drawn the game, is the fact that we didn't deserve to get more out of it. Even at 2-1 in the first half, we remember that chance that Carlos had. Like I think he was 2 inches away from the line, and he somehow missed that. It's been happening pretty much all season, and yesterday especially. If he'd scored that, it would have been 2-0, and then the conversation would have obviously been different. The game would have been different as well. So I think that's where the frustration comes from. It's the fact that we haven't even deserved to win that. So I remember the 3-1 in the 80th minute. I was talking to the lads yesterday as well. When I was preparing the stream, the match reaction, I was thinking it was 3-1. I had the title typed out. And then I was thinking, even if we win this 3-1, I still feel like we got lucky not to concede more.
Mm-hmm.
And just as I was thinking that, it's just 2 goals quick fire, and then that's the game gone. Could have lost it really, but yeah. At this point, I don't think it really matters if we drew games or lose them. But, maybe it's different on Sunday because it's going to be Jurgen's final game. But yeah, we're going to have to see. Now, one of the topics that I've seen being discussed online is the fact that Alisson is apparently attracting some interest from the Saudi league. We know that both Fabinho and Bobby Firmino have left and have gone to Saudi last season. Oh, before this season, at least. So we know obviously that they were pretty close friends in their time here at Liverpool, and so I wanted to ask you lads, if do you think there's any chance that Alisson leaves in the summer? Now, obviously, that would mean that would leave Arne Slot without arguably the most important player in the squad, the one that's really saved us a lot in the past few seasons, and the one that I consider to be the best keeper in the world. So for me, it's an absolute no-go. I don't really see how there's any world in which we give up Alisson, but maybe there's a conversation to be had, about Kelleher as well, if he doesn't want to keep being a second choice keeper then. So Carter, is there any truth in that? How are we going to cope if someone like Alisson leaves?
I think it makes sense for Saudi to be interested because obviously high profile player, like still top, I'd still say best goalkeeper in the world. But I think for us, as you kind of said, we can't let him go. Like sometimes, like letting Fabinho go, if we'd have got a proper number 6, the team got better. But honestly, no matter who we bring in to replace Alisson, the team's getting worse. And that's one thing. Like you can sometimes offset stuff. Like if you sold Salah and you got 2 wingers, I'd keep Salah, but the team might get better. We saw Coutinho, the team got better, but actually your goalkeeper, like there's no one out there. Like if we sell Alisson, we're only going to get worse. And I just think for the amount of money, even for the amount of money we'd get for Alisson, a top goalkeeper is going to cost, 60, 70 million pounds? Like the sort of market we'll be shopping in, because I can't see us going for an older goalkeeper. So I think it makes sense for Saudi, but it makes absolutely no sense for us. Like any of the goalkeepers, I feel like as well right now, there's no top goalkeepers on the market. There's Mike Maignan at AC Milan, but I think he gets injured more than Alisson. Like, so we're going from one injury-prone goalkeeper to another one. So I just don't see the point in that, to be honest. I really hope. I think Edwards will be smart, and I think he'll keep him. But yeah, fingers crossed we keep him, to be honest.
It would honestly I think it would surprise me even more than a Salah departure at this point, because I think now I don't know if this is common sense or not, but I feel like Alisson is more important for us than Mo is. Yeah, that's just me though.
You're not the only one. You're not the only one.
Yeah, what I wanted to say is, Paul, please stop. Please just don't just stop. It is the Adrian one as well. Yeah, we've seen enough of Adrian and of Karius, I think. So Reese, can we cope if Alisson leaves, and what does that mean for Kelleher as well?
I'm not even trying to think about that, to be honest. Obviously, if Alisson was to leave, then for me, it would make sense to make Kelleher number 1. That's how I would look at it, and then you would get a backup. But I'm not really worried about Alisson leaving because it's the Saudi league. Even though Fabinho and that are over there, Alisson still has a lot to give. He's still in his prime. He don't look like he's slowing down. If you said like a Real Madrid or someone else was interested in him, then I'd be a bit more worried. But the quality of the league over there, he strikes me as he's ambitious. He wants to win things. You're not going to want to go over there. So I'm not. Obviously, you never know, but I highly doubt it. And now Edwards and aspect certain things, they're not going to let a key player like Alisson. Like I said, there's certain players that need to extend their contract that are kind of the spine of our team. And Alisson for me is like the first one for me that needs to get done. So I'm not worried at all about losing Alisson.
I think it's Alisson, Virgil van Dijk, and probably Mo Salah, who've been players that, you know, any season we've played for the past 5 years, you could have said they were a contender for player of the season. And so I feel like, you know, with Mo, the situation's a bit different, but especially with Virg and with Alisson, I just don't think there's a world in which we can let them go. We've seen the conversation with Van Dijk as well, but he's probably going to sign a new deal as well. Yeah, I feel like times are changing, really. I feel like, you know, a few years back, you were thinking about a 32-year-old center back as someone who's probably going to have a tough time dealing in the Prem. But I feel like Virg van Dijk was, you know, this season we've seen performances from him that were looking like he was closer to his peak a few years back. So I think there's no point in really thinking about age. Is something that I've seen discussed online in both Alisson and Van Dijk's case, because, you know, maybe Edwards wasn't a fan of older players back in the day, but I think you could see that they're still good enough and obviously world-class players still. So no reason to give them up either. So we've seen that Adrian has announced his intention to leave Liverpool. Yeah, that somehow doesn't surprise me. It's been interesting with Adrian, I swear, because on one hand, we remember the Super Cup against Chelsea, where we were like, yeah, that's, you know, a good keeper, a good backup. And then after that, it's been tougher to take, especially the Atletico one. But water under the bridge. So yeah. One thing that I wanted to discuss as well is the fact that Liverpool seem to still be interested in Leny Yoro. Now, he's a pretty young center back playing in France. So that is a position that I thought we should get someone in, especially you know, at the beginning of the season. But then someone like Kwanzaa came in, and he seems to be really you know, cementing his place in the starting 11. Now you could maybe make an argument that he's the one that should partner Van Dijk in that role in defense. But obviously we still have quite a few players, or, you know, players that can play there. It's Joe Gomez, obviously. If he doesn't play left back, it's Konate, and we're gonna have to wait and see what happens with Joe Matip. Now, for me, I think that especially when you think about Konate being someone who's injury prone, I feel like a center back would be helpful. I'm not really sure if Leny Yoro is the one we should necessarily go for. It obviously depends on the fee as well, and that's something that Edwards will have to consider. Yes, Seb van den Berg is another one that it's been looking really well this season. It's just interesting to see from what I remember. His performances weren't good enough, but that was obviously back in the day. So we'll have to wait and see. Carter, do we need a center back, and would Leny Yoro be a name that would sound good to you?
I think we definitely need a centre back. Like, I'm not gonna try and hate on Kwanzaa here, but I think he's good. I think on the ball he's really good, but I just think there's times where physically, and I think defensive side of the ball he's good, but I feel like if you want to win titles, you need great centre halves. Like, you need really good centre halves. You need a good number 6. And I feel like I would sign someone, and I think I'd sign a right-sided centre half probably, who's good enough, who we think can start. And if Konate or Kwanzaa can go and show, no, I'm better, then they take the spot, which is fair enough. And then that means if we spend £50 million on Leny Yoro and Kwanzaa's better than him, it doesn't matter, because now we've got that centre half. Like, iron sharpens iron. Like, you want to have, I don't want Kwanzaa to be our centre back by default because he's the best of a bad bunch or the best of a good bunch. I want us to have 2 centre halves, and then maybe we go, Kwanzaa's that good. Like, Leny Yoro, we signed him for £50 million, but he's not as good as Kwanzaa. Like, we should be looking to. It's harsh because you want to give people a chance. We should be signing top level players, and if guys are good enough to displace them, then they're good enough to play for Liverpool. We shouldn't be thinking, no, we've got Kwanzaa, he could be good, and then not sign someone. Like, that's not how you stay at the top. Like, you look at, like, Arsenal. I'm not going to make this comparison. They signed Pepe, 75 million player, and then they go, Saka's just better than him. Like, and at the end of the day, no one speaks about Pepe now because that position's got Saka in it. So I think it's definitely worth like going and splashing on a good centre half. But I do get people maybe being worried with Euro. I think I looked at him today and it's like 18 years and 160 days, which is like shockingly like almost like 5 years younger than me. But yeah, I think he looks ready. He looks ready. He looks big. So I think it'd be a really good gamble.
That's when it hits you, doesn't it? Is when you see players doing it at top level and they're younger than you are. So yeah, that's when you're starting to think that maybe I won't make it as a pro footballer anymore. But
yeah, makes you think, what was you doing at that age?
Yeah, it's been it's been the same in football and tennis in the last few years as well. But yeah, obviously we won't get into that now. So yeah, Reese, same question to you there, mate. Do we need a center back, and is Leny Yoro one that would like that? Do you think would be a good fit for us?
We 100% need a centre back. I don't know too much about him. Obviously, I've heard his name a little bit, but what's alarming to me is how young he is. I think we need more of someone who's ready, because you've already got a young centre back, which is Kwanzaa. We don't need two. We need, like I said, I'm happy with Konate, Kwanzaa, Van Dijk, and another one. Even if Gomez was to stay, obviously there's been rumours he might want to leave. I understand if he does want to leave, he maybe wants more regular football. I completely understand that. He's been at Liverpool a long time, but we definitely need a centre back. Before, if it wasn't going to be Slot and it was going to be Amrin, then I would have said a left-sided centre back. But now, I don't really mind whether they're left-sided or right-sided, but more of a senior centre back, more someone who's kind of ready now, not someone who's going to be a project player or who's going to need a bit of time. I'm kind of growing tired of the project player stuff. We need, like what Carter said, iron sharpens iron. If you look at Man City, they got players in each position. If someone drops out, like say Diaz drops out, you got Ake, or you got Akanji, or you got Stones. That's how it's supposed to be. Someone else is just meant to come in, and it's just meant to be like clockwork. So yeah, I definitely think we need a centre back, and I think obviously from what it looks like they're looking at, that's a priority for one of the signings, I think, this summer. So yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna keep an eye on for that one. I've seen this comment here from Paul asking us if we think players like Clark, McConnell, Dokes, and Doak and Dance, I think, should be going out on loan. No, me personally, I think yes. I don't. I mean, they've been great in that in the they've played in the EFL Cup final, and then they've played against Southampton at Anfield, if I remember correctly. That was the matches where they were basically showed us they're really promising. I still don't think they're good enough to play in the, or maybe not good enough, but maybe not prepared at the moment to play in the Prem or in Champions League, where we're going to be next season. So I think giving them regular football is obviously better for them now. For me at least, that's what I think. So Reese, do you think any of these lads out here, would you like to keep any for next season, or just letting them out on loan?
Depending, I can't answer it completely how I want to, because I don't know who we're going to bring in and who's going to leave. But ideally, I would put them on loan. I would put out of all of them, I'll say the ones who are the most kind of closest to being ready is, from what I've seen, is Clark and Dan's. I know we only seen a little bit of them, but yeah, if we sign like certain players, then yeah, ideally I want them to be put out on loan so they get more regular football at a higher level and they get to kind of develop. But don't be surprised if one, because we've got quite a few guys who still need to come back as well, like Carvalho is more, and some guys probably will get sold as well, because we can't keep everyone. So yeah, ideally on loan, but you never know, one or two of them might still be part of the squad come next season, depending on how they do during preseason.
I think physically that's going to be the biggest problem for them, especially for McConnell and for Clark. Doak, I think, has been playing, and he's been playing pretty well, especially when he came on before his injury, obviously, in the minutes that he got. Dance as well. I remember a few weeks back there were people saying that Dance should be ahead of Cody Gakpo in the pecking order. Now, obviously, maybe that's changed. Cody has been a player that, you know, I've seen the abuse that I've seen online against Cody Hakpo is, yeah, I don't get it. To me, I think we have short memories. If you remember the first 6 months after he signed for us, he's been the player that basically, you know, thanks to him, we were able to push for a top four finish. In the end, we didn't get it, but you know, it was not obviously not due to him and his performances. So, Carter, would you keep any of those lads at the club, or would you just send them out on loan?
I think I think Clark and McConnell definitely on loan. I think Dan's. I think he needs to go and play because I think there's just too many. There's too many forwards ahead of him. I think in the striker position because he's. I personally, I think it'd be very like, not reckless, but it would be a bad decision from a coach to play him on the wing because it's just not what he's suited to. Like if you were trying to squeeze him in for a game, it's like you're setting him up to fail. Like so, I think he's kind of limited by the amount of options we have. So I think he should go on loan. But I think Doak's the interesting one because obviously he had the big injury and he might need more time to get sort of back up to speed. Because if you just come in off of like a massive injury and then you go out on loan and it's a big change, like he might not be ready. And I also think out of all of them, he's the most useful. Like if we have a wing, an attacker, one attacker in, one attacker out. If Jota still stays or if Nunes stays, if both of them stay, and let's say it's Diaz that goes, those are two guys that can pick up injuries. And I think Doak, at least out of all of them, I think his pace, like young players can play on the wing a lot earlier than they can play in centre mid or up front. So I think he's very useful. I think he can kind of play both sides. And I think in some of the sort of, not throwaway, but there's 10 Champions League group games. There's going to be the cup games. I'd be comfortable, especially in the Champions League games. I think someone like Doak, when there's space in behind, like we played Champions League games, so many teams just come up and try and like play a bit at you. And a lot of them are quite like if we played an Italian team and there's a 34-year-old left back playing, Doak's got a chance. Like he's got a decent chance. So I think I keep him, have him a sort of sixth choice attacker. You can maybe put Elliott ahead of him and Sobosai ahead of him on the wings as well. But I think give him a year, let him get some momentum back, play a bit of the under-21s, play in the like Champions League, let him get a bit of confidence, and then I'd send him out on loan.
Fair enough. That's pretty much what I was thinking as well. Now, Paul, I am no expert. I've been trying to listen to different videos on how to pronounce names. So I think me personally, I've been pronouncing it as in Gravenberg. So not what I've seen in English speakers was Gravenberch or something like that, which I'm not sure is the correct pronunciation. But then at the end of the day, I don't think anyone minds it too much. You know, that's that. Now, interestingly enough, I remember Reese when we were talking about center backs, you said something about project players and how we need someone to come in and just be able to basically come in and play and be at the level of the others in the squad. Now, a position that we need someone like that in is, I think, extremely important is in the DM position. We know that next season we're going to have Arne Slot as our next manager or head coach, really. And we know that he's been playing a 4-2-3-1 with two DMs quite a lot for Feyenoord. So he might play that way for Liverpool as well. And if he does, I don't see us playing McAllister and Endo in those positions. You can maybe make a case about Trent there as well, but you know, there's probably going to be, we're going to have the conversation at the time. So I'm going to ask you, I would ask you if we need a DM, but I think we both know the answer to that. So then I'm going to ask you, do you think, would you want to see us play a 4-2-3-1 like that with two DMs? Do you think it would give us a bit more control? It would help us not be so easily to carve open. And who are the names that you have in mind?
I wouldn't mind the 4-2-3-1. I do think though, if we do have two, we don't need two destroyers. One could be a destroyer, and then one could be whether it's McAllister or Trent alongside, where they're more the playmaker, the controller, and then you've got the. obviously for the 4-2-3-1 as well, I think we should be playing that more because we've got a few players who can play the 10, which is like Elliot, Carvalho, Szoboszlai, Curtis Jones. There's a good few players who could play the 10. In terms of who I would want, I forgot his name. Was it in Ugarte? Is it PSG? I'm not sure if he's playing regularly or not, but I'll test the waters there. Even this one's a bit left field, but I'll still try and see him go for Lavia as well because he hasn't really played at Chelsea. Obviously, I know he's been injured, and obviously, from a rival perspective, a lot of our fans will be like, "Oh, it didn't work out for him. He chose the wrong team and things and stuff like that." But he's not even really playing there, so potentially even a Lavia, him. Those are the only two names that come to mind. But we definitely need, for me, someone that's like a Fabinho type, or like a Rodri type, which is someone who can protect the back line, who can read the game well, but can also kind of play the game. But I don't think we need two. If we're gonna play a double, we don't need two of the same that are two defensive. You can have one, and then you can have another one that's more of a playmaker. Yeah, you're on mute.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, you know. Yeah.
Okay. So I think I started to talk and before I got to unmute my mic, which is I was that excited to get that opinion out. So I was thinking pretty much the same thing. I was thinking, you need someone who's a 6 and who's someone who could be close to what Fabinho was for us. I think he was, for me at least, for 2-3 years in 2018, 2019, 2020, those seasons, I think he was pretty much one of the best in the world in that position, if not the best. And so obviously that's protected the defense a lot. Maybe what's different is that at the time you also had more defensive-minded trio in midfield, but we're going to see obviously what Arne Slot wants to do, having a DM and then someone like McAllister next to him and then someone like Szoboszlai, for example, in the 10 role would be very, very interesting to see. So yeah, Carter, I'm going to ask you the same question. Do we need a DM? And if we do, who do you have in mind?
I think we definitely need a DM, and like Reece said, I think we don't need two destroyers. Like we need one, and I even think actually, I personally, for me, I'm not super keen on Mac being sort of the second deepest midfielder. Like I think he doesn't carry the piano. He gets the piano carried for him. Like I think I would rather have like him, Szoboszlai, or Harvey as like the 10, and I'd have, depending, because I think there's no like, as we said, there was Lavia who was there, but I think we'd struggle. Like I think it would be difficult to get him out of Chelsea. And like Rice isn't available. Tchouameni went to Real Madrid. So we're kind of like, we've got people, there's options who are good at one thing but are bad at something else. So I think if we got more of a destroyer, then I'd want like a Trent or maybe you can get away with Maka there. But I think maybe someone like Locatelli, who's at Juve, who was quite good in the Euros when Italy won it. Like someone like him, maybe someone who's just at least they're big. And then you put someone who's got like a bit of legs, like a Gravenberch or a Bajcetic or a Curtis Jones. You can put someone near them to do their running. Like Rodri doesn't have to cover loads and look like he does, but he doesn't have to like sprint everywhere. But we could just get someone who's like big, who's confident on the ball, who's like strong in the tackle. I think we could maybe go that way. Obviously, it'd be better if we can get a Declan Rice who's like, I'm going to say, a swashbuckling DM who will go all over the place, win the ball here and there. But like Busquets is the best example of, as long as you're big and you can read the game, you can be a really good 6. So I think someone like him would be interesting. But I think it's difficult. I think as well we missed the boat on Caicedo. He would have been an interesting option. A bit, I would have said it would have been a bit like Genie light. Like I don't know if there's anyone out there like Genie, like who could kind of be a bit of a 6. I just think we're in a really difficult position. Like there's just no, like when you look last season, you go Bellingham's clearly he's the best option out. There's not even that. There's not even some unattainable number 6 for us to put our hopes on. Everyone's, I like this guy, I like this guy, I like this guy. It's just difficult. There's no clear answer, I don't think. I think we're going to have to rely on Edwards and Hughes to sort of pull rabbits out of hats in that position.
Yeah, it's pretty much obviously last season or last summer, really, we were in the market for a DM, and then we got Endo, and I think he was better than what we expected him to be, but still, I feel like, especially these past few months, show that he maybe is still not, at the level at which we need him to be. So yeah, I definitely think we need a DM as well. And yeah, as you said, Caicedo would have been interesting. I think I am okay with missing out on him though, because the fee that we would have paid was unreal, and then I think it would have been too much. But then at the same time, one interesting discussion that I've been having with a friend of mine is, nowadays you don't really pay for the player, you pay for the potential. So that's kind of that's kind of, I think that's what Chelsea were doing, and we wanted to do as well, and that's what we did with Nunez as well. When we paid the amount that we paid, I don't think we necessarily paid for the guaranteed product that we knew we were going to get at that time. It was more about the potential now, and same with Cody Hakpo, and now we have to see whether it was a good decision or not. One interesting that yeah, João Neves, he was playing, I think, for Porto, was he? So yeah, I remember. I think he's been really popular though in Europe in this past few months. So then, it doesn't really seem like necessarily the Edward signing. We're gonna have to wait and see on that one as well. One thing that I wanted to ask you lads as well is something that I think Paul, if he's still here in the chat, he'd like us to discuss it, and I've seen it mentioned by Reese, I think, a bit earlier on, is the topic of Fabio Carvalho. Now we know that he's going to be back from his loan. He did great at a whole in these past few months, and we've had this conversation where he seems to be very, very similar to what Harvey Elliott is. And is there a way to play them or keep them both in the squad? Now we know if we get him, Carvalho would rather play as a 10 or maybe a winger. I don't see him playing as an 8 or someone in that midfield trio as we do now. So I'm going to ask you, lads, do you think Carvalho is one that we should keep due to his potential, or we just, we accept that maybe it wasn't necessarily the best fit with what we were going to play? Obviously, we have a new head coach who's going to come in, and that's, an important variable as well in this conversation. So, Carter, I'm going to ask you, would you want us to keep Carvalho or not?
I honestly, like he's a West London boy like me, so I really liked him when he was at Fulham and that kind of thing. And I have seen bits of him at Hull, and it's just, the thing is, I think Elliott offers a lot more. But I think the way I've kind of thought in my head, like when I'm looking at like us signing people, I'm trying to think like how Real Madrid would think. And when I look at Carvalho, I go, is he a starter? Probably not. But Carvalho has one thing that's so good, that's so important. He scores. No matter where you put him, if he plays games, he's going to score. He barely played for us. He still scored. Like, he still got important goals. I think no matter what, even if you go, he's not played well. If you put him on for 20 minutes at the end of the game, he might play rubbish. He might mess up every dribble he does. He might miss a load of passes, but he'll get himself in one position to put the ball in the back of the net, and there's a good chance that he'll do it. And I actually think I think he struggles on the wing. I think he's he's too slow to be that small. I'm not that tall, so I'm not like riffing on short people, but I think he's too lightweight. Like, I think at least Elliott has like the pass and that kind of thing. But I do think you can't undervalue having someone like a bit like Jota who can just come on and score you goals. So I actually think now I would not like to see him start very many games at all, but to bring on in late games or bring on when we're 2 or 3-0 up, I think he's the type of player where he sort of just comes on and puts the ball in the back of the net. So I don't think you can be disappointed if we keep him.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's I think when we've discussed the youngsters in the comment a bit earlier with when we were discussing McConnell and Clark and players like that, I feel like the same when you look at players like oh my god, I forgot his name now. The one we were just talking about, midfielder Carvalho. Jesus. Okay. So it's the same with players like him. It's like they're obviously they have great potential, but how are we going to fit them all in? And it's almost like, we could do like one of those things when you're going to regret later on, where you're going to sell players like Carvalho. But then I feel like, me personally, I just don't see where he'd fit in. And as Paul said in the comments as well, he said it pretty well as well. I wouldn't necessarily want to see Jones play as a 10. That's just me. But I think, yeah, if we keep Carvalho, then I don't think he would get in ahead of any of the others. So Reese, I'm going to ask you the same question then. Would you want us to see keeping Carvalho?
No, I 100% would keep Carvalho. I'm a big fan of Carvalho. Obviously, I hear what Carr is saying. His probably best attribute is going to be he gets you goals, but I think he's very technically underrated. Obviously, it didn't really work out with Klopp. If Klopp was staying, then I'd say, yeah, sell him. But because we've got a new manager and new structure in place, probably different formation, I think he will be part of the manager's plans. I know we have other players. I think in the comments someone said Jones and McAllister, but they're not going to get played in the 10, so you can kind of rule them out. For me, the three people that, if we are going to play 10s, I think is Szoboszlai, Elliott and Carvalho. It's out of those three. I wouldn't play him on the wing because he ain't really got pace like that. And you saw when Klopp tried to play him on the wing, he was kind of wasted out on the wing. But it's the same with Elliott as well. He wouldn't really, when he's played out on the wing, it doesn't really work because he ain't got the pace. Whereas in the 8, that's when you kind of see Elliott's able to be more creative. But I would keep Carvalho. Obviously, I don't know what the new manager's thinking, but I would, if we're gonna play a 4-2-3-1, or we're gonna be a bit more expansive, a bit more different, flexible formations, then I would keep him. But obviously, like you both mentioned, we can't keep everyone, so there are going to be some who have to get sold. But me, I would keep Carvalho and give him a chance.
Right. Good to have different opinions on the stream. It would have been pretty boring otherwise. So, okay. One last thing that I wanted to ask you, lads. I said it yesterday as well. I'm not sure if any of you will be on until Sunday, so I'm gonna give you the opportunity to think about it now. We know that we are in Jurgen's final week as a Liverpool manager, and so one thing that I wanted to ask pretty much everyone that I can this week is for your favorite memory of Jurgen as a manager in his time here. Now I'm gonna start because I've said it yesterday as well. I want to give you lads a bit of time to think about it. For me, it was maybe I'm gonna cheat because it wasn't necessarily a moment, but a bit of a campaign. I think for me it was the Champions League campaign in 2017-18. We lost the final against Madrid, but I think that season, after seeing the matches against City and then the one against Roma at Anfield, I think that's when I actually started to believe that we can win something major. I remember thinking, about the right before the City game at Anfield, I was thinking that for us to have a chance to qualify, we need to win by at least 2 goals and not concede, because at the time there was also the away goal rule. And I was thinking that's just impossible with the way City are playing. And then at halftime it was 3-0. And then obviously, we went on to qualify, and I think that was the campaign where I actually felt like we can win something major, and it obviously happened in the next few seasons. So, Carter, I'm gonna give you the chance now. If you can name one or more of your favorite memories with Jurgen here.
I'd probably say I think it's probably after like the Barcelona game. I think when he's sort of in there and you can just see he's like, it's actually, honestly, it felt more like we'd won the final after beating Barcelona than beating Spurs. And it was just that he was like, oh, all the children have gone to bed. He's like, these guys are like giants. Like, and I think it's just stuff like that. And I also think this isn't like moments, but I do just quite like when, like, how he sort of conducts himself. Like, we've probably all seen, when like some of the kids come, or people who've got like something's happened to them, or they've maybe got a disability, or like they're struggling. I just think it's stuff like that. I just think I genuinely just think there's so many like moments you could say, but I just think he's just he just conducts himself so well, and just all the sort of more just like the human side. Like I think celebrations and stuff are good and they are really fun, but I just think he's been like such like a good like leader and sort of spokesperson for the club. So I'd probably say that, or maybe some of the like interviews and stuff and speeches he's done probably.
Fair enough. I think the Barca game is going to be a very popular answer to this question. Reese, do you have a different one or is it the same?
I've got two. So I've got the Barca one, obviously, because the manner and how we came back, and obviously most people probably thought we weren't going to come back. I knew we had a chance, but I still thought it was a long stretch because I saw it as there's no way we're going to win without conceding a goal against that Barca team. But that game, and then obviously if you watch, I think who was missing? I think some of our front line was missing. I think two out of the three were missing.
Mo Salah and Bobby Firmino, yeah.
Okay, as well. So you saw other players step up, like Wijnaldum get important goals. It was just supposed to be Origi, Henderson. Obviously, if you watch Klopp, kind of is like this in every game, but for that game in particular, afterwards when he was hugging all the players, celebrating with all the players, obviously that moment Trent scored. Trent with the corner. That's always going to be kind of in history. It's kind of surreal. But a bit like what Carter said, how he is as a person is kind of what you see is what you get. He kind of wears his heart on his sleeve. He doesn't act like he's better than anyone else, even though he could if he wanted to. He's Jurgen Klopp. He's managing Liverpool. He's a successful person. How he is kind of as an ambassador and just how he carries himself. And then the other game for me was when we beat City 4-3. Obviously, the game kind of became a bit closer more than it needed to, but that wasn't really a fair reflection. I think that's the season. I think we won the league as well. I think I'm not sure, but the manner and how we were playing against City and no one else kind of was playing that way. I was able to kind of run away with it. It kind of just made me believe that he's a serious manager, and what the players are bought into what he's doing, and those are the two memories for me. Obviously, there's loads more if I had to try and think and write down, but yeah, those are the two that come to mind when I was like, I feel like Liverpool are kind of doing something special on the clock at that time.
Yeah, I think we can talk about it up until Sunday, really, if we want to. So yeah, it's been quite the adventure. I think I don't know about you lads, but for me, I'm still fairly young, I'd say. I know Carter is definitely younger than me, so then for me it was like, I remember Liverpool in my time ever since I was old enough to understand what's happening and to understand football, really. I think Jurgen's been pretty much synonymous with Liverpool. I hardly remember, obviously I remember the Rafa Benitez times. They were great as well, but missed out on a few titles. Then obviously the time with Roy Hodgson and with the famous Kyrgiakos as a center back and Jay Spearing as a DM. Those were the days. If you got him, I remember it was great. We were drawing games against Bucharest. Those were the days, yeah. But for me, at least, I remember it was ever since 2015. It's Jurgen, and that's all I know, really. And it's gonna be very, very interesting to see how we're doing without him. I'm excited, but then at the same time, it's been. I almost thought that he'd stay here for like another 5-6 years with how much he loves the city and the club. But obviously, as he said, you sometimes need some time off, and we're happy to give him that after what he's given us. So with that in mind, I think we're going to end tonight's stream. I'm going to thank Carter, thank Reese, and of course everyone who's been on in the chat, who's subscribed to the channel, who's liked the video and left their comments as well. We love to have conversations with you lads in the chat. So make sure to tune in on tomorrow's stream and the next few days. Obviously, we're going to have a few We're gonna live stream pretty much every single day up until Sunday, obviously, and then as well. It's probably going to be an emotional one on Sunday, but up until then, make sure to tune in on latest developments around Liverpool. So everyone have a great week, a great evening, and up the Reds.